All right, we'll go ahead and call the CRA meeting to order. First thing we'll do is do a roll call.
Steve Chesmer.
Paul Osborne.
Mike Yeba.
Brian Volk.
Charles Davis.
City Attorney's Office, Jennifer Cockcroft.
Sonia Fonseca, Sanford CRA Executive Director.
All right. You just change this up on me every time, don't you? All right, public comment period. We'll do first thing is post-event reports. The Melissa 5K, they've requested to be put on next month's. So we're going to go ahead and do timing. We're going to move action item number 4 for grants and subsidies to the City of Sanford police officer funding up to that area. So, Chief, you definitely did not come light today, so I appreciate it.
Sure.
For those of you that weren't here at the last meeting,
No, if this is the first, you mean the Melissa's 5K, it's going to be on the next agenda.
So you move to continue that?
do we need to continue that?
Just do a motion to continue.
All right. Can I get a motion to continue the Melissa's 5K?
I move to continue Melissa's 5K run to the next CRA scheduled event.
Second it. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. You guys remember at the last meeting, we did not get a full presentation on funding 2 officers for the downtown CRA district. There were quite a few questions that were being thrown on the table that we could not answer at the time. So Chief Smith has come in to do a presentation and to also answer any of your questions. Chief Smith, the table is yours.
Well, I didn't know I was going to do a presentation, but about a month or so ago, I was approached by the gentleman sitting here, Mr. Wendell, who are doing the master plan with regard to the possibility of what it would take to ensure that we had additional officers in the downtown CRA area. I explained to them that for the purpose of doing that, as our manning and staffing would allow right now, we would not be able to purposely assign officers to that designated area in the manner in which was requested. So I was asked to look at how much it would cost to hire officers specifically for the downtown region. So I explained to the mayor, and I had an opportunity to speak with you as well, about what it would take. And essentially, it would take initially 4 officers to have a 24-hour rotation for someone to be specifically in the CRA area. That would be their responsibility. They would not leave that area. It would be their responsibility for it. That's the equivalent of 4 officers. I believe we sent you a copy of what the cost would be for 4 officers, but in speaking with Charles Davis, it was indicated that that would be somewhat quite expensive for the CRA to do. So we decided to take that back down to 2 officers. In order for us to do 2 officers, hiring them, and again, we put it into 2 perspectives, option 1 and option 1A. Option 1 would require us to hire 2 brand new officers, outfit those officers, and essentially pay them their salaries and everything for the duration of our agreement. The initial output for 2 officers, fully outfitted with all of the things that they would need, would be $255,000. After consideration and additional conversation, we made the decision that if we were to do this, would take it out the motor vehicles. The cost of the vehicles were $44,000, and that $44,000 would mean it would be a new vehicle, fully equipped with all of the things that we purchased brand new vehicles with, to put a brand new officer on the street. So what we had done was, under option 1A, and I believe you have that as well, option 1A outlines that the officers, the computers, the vehicle costs for fuel, training the officers, and salaries for 2 officers would essentially come to about $171,000 for a year. And then as you go progressively, just being conservative over the next 5 years, that's outlined as well as far as the cost was concerned.
Can I ask a question there?
Sure.
So this is without a vehicle?
The second one is without a vehicle. What we would do
How
is...
come there's maintenance, $5,000 maintenance in there, if they don't have a vehicle?
Well, they will have a vehicle. What we're going to do is, instead of us every year trading in the vehicles, they will maintain the same vehicles that we have. Essentially, every 4 years, we rotate our vehicles out. instead of putting that cost on you, we won't rotate those vehicles out until later on. So essentially, somewhere down the line, they will get a new vehicle, but they won't get a new vehicle right away. But the vehicles that they will get will still have to be maintained through the city, and that's our additional cost for there. The other question came up was, with 2 officers, how would that work with regards to having the rotations? I think I sent you a copy of our proposal as far as having 2 officers work 4 10-hour days.
Right.
Essentially, we would rotate those officers on those days in and out, and if there's vacation time or times where that coverage isn't provided, then we will work that rotation back into our shift. And this was the most feasible way for us to ensure that we have the coverage that was requested. I know that there was a question that was posed about why can't we reassign someone else from another area. I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that back in 2006, when the city did their initial look at how many officers we should have, as it stands right now, we're at 130. We should be well over 144 officers. And actually, when I look at the number of officers that I do have, I'm at about 123. Those 123 officers are spread throughout the entire city, making sure that we have the 56 or 57,000 people in our community covered. So for me to pull somebody from another area to put them specifically down here, which would mean I'm going to leave another area without an officer in it, and they would end up rotating. So this was the best feasible way for us to look at having at least 2 officers in the area that would be specifically assigned to the downtown area, dealing with issues in the downtown area.
I'm curious, is this a supplement to what we already have? Do we have a presence downtown now? And will that remain if we go ahead and fund this?
You have a rotating officer that's assigned down there right now.
And what are his hours?
His
Does it
hours,
coincide with these hours, or does it offset?
he comes in at Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. And then in the evening hours, what happens is the CSA is called CSA 21. CSA 21 takes in both portions of Georgetown and the CRA area, all the way out to, I believe, 1792 to Sanford Avenue. So it's a big CSA. What we have done is we've taken the CSA officer and kind of morphed him into the officer that we have in the downtown area. But in the event that something occurs, we have to pull him out, we'll have to pull him out.
So is the CSA the community service, or is that an officer's CSA?
CSA is community service area.
Okay.
Or calls for service
Okay.
area.
And with these officers that you're putting in, would they be answering calls for outside the CRA, or would they be stationed here primarily?
Their primary responsibility would be in the CRA area.
But in the event of an
But
emergency?
if there's an emergency, they will get pulled out. If I have a shooting that's generally within that general area, we're going to pull them out to assist. That's going to happen regardless.
Will they be stationed in the Welcome Center like Bill used to be?
I couldn't tell you what Bill used to do because he was gone before I
No,
got
that's
here.
true, okay.
What I will tell you is that their responsibility will be to deal with the issues in the downtown area, work hand in hand with the businesses in the downtown area, work again with our new development that's coming into the downtown area, and you will have two faces of people who you know that you can pick up the telephone and call whenever you have an issue or concern. Essentially, they become your officers.
Same guys all the time?
Same guys all the time. The only time you won't have them is if they're on vacation or doing some type of training, which would have a rotation. The nighttime hours would be different because the way the 10-hour shift would work, there will be some hours where you won't have them there. We have to give them some time off. So we will fill those hours in with the CSA officer.
What do they do out at the mall? Do you have a substation out at the mall?
Not any longer.
No.
No. New management. So what we do is we do details at the mall through like Dillard's. Dillard's hires us out every day to have an officer there, but they're paying a much higher rate to have a off-duty officer at Dillard's every day.
What is that, $30 an hour,
It's about
$32?
$35 an hour. right? It's about $35 an hour.
So in your present budget for the total number of officers, how many officers do you have budgeted now?
I have 130 officers budgeted for.
And how many do you have hired?
I just hired 6. I'm at 129. But I'll also tell you, I've got about 10 of them out that are on workers' comp. Of that 129, 9 of them are in training. 6 of them I just hired last week, so that's 15. And those 6 officers I hired last week won't be ready for another 18 weeks to go out on the street by themselves. The 9 officers that we hired back in July, they get released to the street the end of September, 1st of October. Had we had the opportunity to move this forward when the meeting took place before, because we just did a hiring, I could have hired those positions during that time frame. But we are in a rehiring process because we have additional vacancies, as the deputy chief just indicated. So we're in the hiring process again to try to get us up to the 130 mark. I will tell you, in the 3.5, almost 4 years I've been here, we have never gotten to 130 officers. And part of that is through attrition, officers leaving and going to other agencies. You know, we struggle with maintaining that 130 status. So we do the best we can, and our guys, I will tell you, I've probably spent more in overtime as I look back at Cindy, because I've got guys kind of doubling up on what they're doing on the street right now just to maintain who we have and the stuff that we have on the street right now.
So in your present budget, you already have personnel supposedly put in place for the CRA?
We are proposing to have that if you approve it. If you approve it, then that'll take us to 132 officers.
And this is all supposed to happen, I'm looking at the schedule, in October. So we would get seasoned, trained officers.
You will get officers who are vetted out already, who are already on the road. You won't get a brand new green officer. It may be a little green. I will tell you that since I've been here, I've hired 67 new officers. So a little over 60% of our police department has less than 4 years on the job. When I took over the police department, I had 98. So just getting us up and spending to ensure the things that we have been doing in this community, we've been running short on personnel. And technically, if we had done some of the things, and part of that is an economy issue, had done the recommendation that was put forward back in 2006, the actual manning would be about 143 officers in the community. But we run at 100 and I think you've got the number right now, maybe 120 or 115, and that's all of the officers on the road, officers in the schools, all of our investigators, officers that we have assigned to the county for all of our auto theft, our financial crimes, and we do have a good relationship with the county that kind of piggybacks and kind of supplements the things that we're doing in the community right now. So the additional 2 officers that you will have will be assigned to this general area and be responsible for it, and that allows me to keep the other officers on the street, the ones that are out there.
Okay, so we're budgeting for 170, what was it?
It's about 171,574.
171,500.
Should that decrease next year since we don't have the additional cost of equipment?
Drops down to 155,922,
And then it jumps back
and
up.
then it jumps back up. I'm assuming there's probably some cost for new equipment or something.
Salary.
We did was we kind of averaged it out and looked at if there was a 3% increase over the next 5 years.
So if I'm looking at this correctly, option 2, it's about $100,000, $130,000 more to have 2 more officers?
Now, these are all for 2 officers. Am I correct in that, Chief Smith?
No,
No,
no. Some are
Option
for
2 is 4
officers.
officers. Because
We're
it
looking at
says,
the initial startup
it's-
cost, though.
yeah, but that's got 400,000 for cars. So if you back out the 400,000, you're at 336,000.
343,148. You may have an older sheet. But it should be about
Option number 2,
343 for 4 officers,
Go to the next page.
171 for 2 officers.
Option number 2 is the 343 or 48.
Right.
It should be the last
Go to
one
the
of
next
those
page,
that
Let's see what we're talking about.
package.
I mean, truthfully, with 4 officers might be, for this small CRA district, a little overkill. I don't know if that's the word to use, but I know you can always say we can use a lot of officers,
No,
but
that's
4.
probably the right word.
Well, I think the part is when we started looking at rotating the officers again, I have to look at vacation time, I
I
have to
got
look
you.
at the training time. I have to give them time off, so I can't work them every day. So if they're working 4 10-hour days, essentially, and then we have the ability to flip those hours back and forth, they will know in advance when their days off are, when they need to take their vacation time. That gives us an opportunity if we need to backfill someone as well to ensure that we have the coverage that we need here. Ideally, 3 would work because then you have that ability to run it almost 24 hours, plus you have that ability to have the same flip as far as the same 3 people who will be responsible for dealing with the issues that are there. What that eliminates from us is that those late hours between 12 and 2 when the bars are still open and I'm pulling guys off the street to do bar checks and everything, during the course of those additional hours. So,
We'll have that covered.
Well, I'm not sure we do because of the schedule. It looks like
Yeah.
they're ending at 9:30 at night.
some nights it'll be 9:30, and again, we have the flexibility because we're creating this from scratch.
Okay.
So once the officers are detailed, that we can adjust their hours accordingly. So
Okay.
that you'll have days when you'll have 2 officers, some days you'll only have 1.
Well, we can adjust the hours so that if there's a higher influx of people on a weekend or whatever, they could stay till sun till 11 or whatever that time is.
And that's the good part about us doing it now is that we have the ability to adjust it. As it stands right now, our officers work from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and then from 6 in the evening until 6 in the morning. They're on a 12-hour, what's called a pyramid shift. They work a 3-2-2-3 shift. So they're on 2, off 3, work 3, off 2. So during the entire year, they can actually see every vacation day or every day that they're going to have off through the entire year. If we do this in a manner of looking at how we do our flip with regards to the 4 10-hour days, then we can actually see what days you're going to have most of your officers here, what days you're going to have them here for 2 days out of the week compared to having an officer here for one officer for a shift.
Will we enter into this type of an agreement with a contract?
Not necessarily. I don't believe we need to do that. Yeah.
If worst case scenario, we'd have to do an intergovernmental agreement, and I don't know that we would have to do that, but
I don't think so.
yeah, we can just pay it. So, anybody got anything else? One thing I did have, I asked Cynthia to check into is what we're looking at anticipation of carrying over this year. And we're looking at an anticipation of 80,000, and if another project stays at the amount it's at, it could be another 20,000, 25,000 that we'd carry over. So we're looking at feasibly maybe $105,000 to carry over that realistically could make up the major difference.
And that's, we're talking about money that's carried over, not earmarked for anything.
Not earmarked
specific.
carryover, money we didn't spend.
That's a good chunk of it.
And that's so realistically,
It's very important, because that was my next question. Where is it coming from?
well, I figured that would be a question, so I got it answered somewhere. So realistically, we could work this into next year's budget without a whole lot of heartache with the fact that we didn't budget it to begin with.
Main question, what's the urgency to do this today? Or next week, or next month? Since the development's not gonna be done in 2 years. Is crime up, crime down, or is it just presence?
Crime is kind of flat right at the moment. In the CRA area, in CSA 21, I think we're probably down about 4%. We are up in some other areas throughout the city. Kind of the urgency for us is that we're in the hiring process now. And for us to bring a new officer on from beginning to releasing them to go out on to the road, it takes anywhere from
19 weeks.
Well, it's 19 weeks for FTL, but then it's about another 2 months in just application, review, testing, making sure that they're physically, mentally prepared, and then they go into the FTO program, which is 19 weeks. So it can be almost up to 6 months from the time we hire someone to the time they're released by themselves to go on the road. So if we're able to say, yes, we're going to move forward with it now, while my guys are actually doing interviews now for people to fill the one position that we have open, if we're able to do it, we'd like to try to do it during this hiring process and be able to at least get those officers into the training program and start getting that process done, and then rotate those new officers or those 2 officers into what you need right now in the downtown area. So our biggest thing is it's always going to be about timing.
Well, I keep hearing we need, but that's what I asked you. Crime's not up. It sounds like this is a strictly present situation.
But, you know, let's,
People feel more comfortable with officers in town, you know.
yeah. Well, let's back up too, is if you guys, which all of us were part of this, during the extension of getting the next.
No, I'm not.
We
disagreeing.
got
I know.
legal opinions, we knew we wanted to do this, we moved forward on doing it. Now they're bringing it forward, it was part of what we wanted to get done. So this is not something that's all of a sudden now, this was part of our plan, and we're running into our plan.
Thrown on our desk last month.
It was thrown on this.
It wasn't in the budget. It's kind of just.
Is it
There
not
it is.
also tied in, there's also a grant out there, am I correct in that?
The COPS grant will replace the 3 officers. And I'll give you kind of an idea, is that up until, and the mayor's kind of looking at me, up until the middle of this year, we had 7 officers who were assigned to the school district. The school district made the decision that mandating us to add 3 additional officers for all of our schools, which is something that happens throughout the entire county. That took an additional 3 officers off the street to go and be responsible for dealing with the 10 of the 11 schools that we have in town. We have 1 school that's Journeys Academy that's covered by the Seminole County Sheriff's Department, and honestly, they can have that school with all of the stuff and issues that take place. They can have that school. But the other 10 schools are covered by Sanford police officers. So that drew down additional from that number that you just had. So what we have applied for is a COPS grant through the COPS office to pay for the 3 officers that we essentially sent to the school district. And then that would allow us at some point to possibly be able to hire 3 additional officers. At the same time, until we get concurrence or clearance on those grants, it's not solid. So we can't even hire until the grant is approved, and that may not take place until the middle of next month, maybe. And there's no guarantee that we'll get the grant, because every law enforcement agency out there is competing to have the federal money pay for it. And those grants are only good for 3 years, and the city still has to pick up 25% of the cost of the grant. And then on the 4th year, the city has to pick up the full cost of those officers going forward.
Curious though, isn't something like this normally something that you would handle through TIF?
Hard to.
Well, but I mean in addition, or is it that like a double whammy where we're supposed to be doing this through TIF funds,
The
but
CRA didn't exist, and the funds that are going to the CRA would go into the general fund, and at that point, they could take that money and use it towards officers that they felt the need.
so we're just reallocating that money?
We're offering a service, is what we're offering.
Okay.
And like I said at the last meeting, realistically, what it boils down to is, does the CRA want to pay to have 2 officers patrolling the district that we're in charge of? I guess that's the word to use. And it's part of our plan is what we all decided was an important part of our plan. And now it's just time to do that part of our plan.
Well, I'm not in disagreement. I just wanted to make sure we had assurances that we're going to have the coverage in the CRA district.
So
Well,
really,
I cannot guarantee it's going to be 24 hours. I'm going to sit here and tell you the truth on that. I can't guarantee it's going to be 24 hours. The best model would be to have 3 or 4 officers. With 2 officers, I can make sure that you have your primary coverage during your busiest hours covered by an officer.
That
With-
is patrolling the area.
with 3 officers.
With 3, it gives us a little more flexibility on how we can look at the hours, and what that does do, that means that I don't have to pull someone from out of another area to augment that officer. If one of them gets sick, that means I have to put somebody and pull someone off the street to make sure that our agreement is taken care of. So if one of them goes on vacation, we're responsible for backing that up. It's kind of similar to the same thing we do at CRF, the Central Florida Hospital, Regional Hospital, is we have a detail that's there 24 hours a day. So when someone gets sick, we have to make sure that we cover the hospital, because we are essentially under contract with them to ensure that there's a uniform officer there 24 hours a day.
So if these 2 officers were sick, we'd have somebody else.
You'll have coverage on it.
And guys, the other thing too is when you keep mentioning 24-hour coverage, that's not to say we couldn't revisit this at a later date. You let some projects get going, you get some more TIF money coming in, and then you revisit it as more people are coming in. So, 2 is a start. 4 would probably be perfect, but we got to start somewhere.
So we can grow to 3. We
You
can
grow to
we
4.
can wake up next year and say we want 3.
Absolutely.
It's just money.
That just means we have to go out and hire someone for the body that we take off the street.
Mhm. All right.
I'll make a motion.
Anybody got anything else? All right. Leave it to the board for action.
Okay, I'll make a motion to contract with the Sanford Police Department for the hiring of 2 officers for the downtown CRA district, using option 1, so the total cost being $171,574.
I'll
Have a
second.
motion, have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Chief. Good luck.
Thank you all. Thank you much.
Thank you.
I think he meant 1A.
1A.
I think it's
Do we
1A.
need to
Verify
revise?
that, because you said option.
But he gave a price, so-
But he put the amount.
Price
Do you want me to amend it for option 1A?
As long as that was the price.
171
1A.
price.
Okay,
You said the right price, you just said the wrong option.
that's fine. You said it was 2
Thank
officers
you,
and
Beth.
it was the right amount, so.
All right.
I mean, in the interest of accuracy, though, do we?
No,
would
the
it be
price is-
better?
It's still under option 1, and you gave 2 officers.
Did,
and the right
So if they want
amount,
to give
so
us cars with that,
It's not
that's fine.
inaccurate.
We got
For that price.
171,000 to work with.
It's true, right.
All right, number 2, first Puerto Rican Festival in Sanford.
It appears we do not have a representative. However, the person that, Hector Rodriguez, asked if he has to be present because he has a regular job and he's not a business owner. So for him, the report is what he was hoping we would.
Does he want to get funded next year? Then he should be present.
I could pass that along, definitely, yes, sir. So,
He took the time to come down to ask for the money. He can take the time to come down and tell us how the money was spent.
okay, so with that, I'll leave it to you to make a motion to move it along to the next agenda, or?
Yep. So, you want to make a motion to table this to the next agenda? Or continue it? Make a motion to continue it?
I'll make a motion to continue the first Puerto Rican Festival in Sanford
Motion,
till
second?
next month.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, the fun begins. The Catalyst site, you want to do a little bit of an intro?
Well,
Sonia?
as you all are aware, the developer is here and he has a presentation to share with you regarding the Catalyst site development. There is no actionable item for you today. This is just informative. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to them to do their presentation. And we're familiar with all the equipment.
We're going to be just fine. Thank you.
Okay,
You guys can just state your name for the record.
Absolutely. Vinnie Torrey. And Rich Heisenbottom with offices at 2199 Ponce de Leon Boulevard in Coral Gables.
Welcome, guys. Vinny, how
Our
are you doing today?
pleasure to be here. We've presented to a lot of folks. We have not had the chance to present to the CRA, and yet you're obviously an incredibly integral part of all things downtown and all things in the CRA district. So we're delighted to present this to the event.
I'd like to just say a very warm thank you guys for the motion you just passed regarding the police presence. I wanted to give you a little briefing of what our thoughts are for that and how Chief Smith sort of tied us to that. The hope and goal of this process and this project is that the catalyst is really a true catalyst to downtown, to the city of Sanford. The whole goal of this project is to really ignite downtown, redevelop downtown, create a synergy, create a place that people want to drive themselves to come over and spend their time, their money, and buy properties that are around us and beyond. The value of this property will be that your property value is going to go up, your TIF revenues are going to go up, the revenue of the city is going to go up, a lot of money is going to be spent here. And at that time, you should be able to start looking at other means to fund police and things like that. It'll happen if we're successful and we're expecting to be successful. So that's the goal here. But we appreciate it. The idea is that people see this as a safe place, it's a safe cultural, meaning this downtown, and I wrote it here, is a safe area. Culture exists. Where you go there, you know it's going to be safe, and it's always that way, and people don't have a fear of it. We're trying to beat any kind of stigma that may be around the issue associated with Sanford. We want to beat that stigma down and say that there's no issue with crime, and a lot of it is not really true. We don't feel that's there. When we come here, we don't feel anything like that. But again, it's a stigma people have, and the other areas have problems, people associated with Sanford. We need to beat that down. So again, this process that you just started today doesn't have to get started today in response to your comment. It doesn't have to be started today, but it needs to be a process that does create a reversal to any stigma that was created through the course of time and years. So that's why we're hoping that, people from all over Metro Orlando area start to move here, or Volusia County, wherever. Our goal is to get people in here from all over places. So I'm moving forward. Thank you again, and we really appreciate it.
And thank you for inviting us here today and for the opportunity to present our project to you. We spent an awful lot of time on it, as you can well imagine. Some of you are going to participate in that process. The rendering you just saw is the entire waterfront perspective of Seminole Boulevard over there. And we need to thank all the folks that were involved with us here, Dover Colin Partners, our town planners, and Miami Economic Associates, our market research folks. For anyone that might not entirely know the 3 blocks, we figured we'd show you the entire thing in the master plan so that it was totally clear that that's a good idea. Thank you. What our site entails, and we started this process, for those of you that remember the charrette we had, by studying all of Sanford, by studying the historic district, it's in the middle, by studying the historic structures that exist within downtown, most of these on First Street. We studied the evolution of downtown Sanford because we're looking back at the old maps of 1887. What did Sanford look like, and how did it change? Where was the lake? Where is it today? And so all of that became part of what went into this process. And you see this around 1901, and then later on, we actually created Commercial Boulevard and the land to the north of that. And now the lake is actually way up there, and our sites were actually land that was filled in. Or at least 2 of those are exclusively, entirely filled in lakefront sites. And we went and we tried to see what that would mean in the context of the entire city, and held the design workshop back in April that hopefully many of you participated in. And if you didn't participate in it, it was actually a really wonderful workshop. We had a great deal of interaction with the entire community. I think we had 70 or 80 people from the community show up and participate, and out of that came a lot of key questions and key answers to what the community wanted. And we took their input, our Dover Colon partners, and really wrote every word, everything that we could possibly extract from the good folks who gave their afternoon to work with us. And they went through that and ultimately listened to a whole series of ideas. And the big ideas that we heard from those participants included second-story terraces, attention to vistas, public spaces designed for informal gatherings, respect to the architectural style and historic aspects of downtown. That's really super important to us as we went forward. Have courtyards and gateway features, need restaurants and retail along the waterfront to tie back to downtown, connect First Street to the riverfront, add better streetscapes, need more residential, that's how we bring people here. These are quotes from everyone that was there. A variety of housing types is desired. And we looked at what some of those meant. What was the preponderance of answers to the question, what would make you want to live downtown? The question on top. More shops and restaurants. So you're going to see that as we get into this master plan, we've certainly added more shops and restaurants. Actually about 45,000 square feet. What features of downtown's existing character do you think are important, or think are most important, to be part of the future development here? Architectural character and or style was the winner, at 39% of the respondents answering the question that way. That told us that folks love the context that we're in, and they want us to continue that context, not build something that is out of context. So that's exactly what we're doing. So we came up with a series of design concepts for, and we studied a whole series of alternatives for the sites. And this is the one that we have hit upon as ultimately our final master plan. This blows it up a little bit. And you can see just in general summary of this, that all of the residential parking is hidden behind the buildings. The buildings all address the street on virtually every street front. The areas along Seminole Boulevard responded to what the respondents were asking for, because they provide restaurants. You'll see more of that later. They do provide the restaurants in the public open space, so that you can look out, you can see the water, and enjoy an evening on the lake. But we looked a little bit deeper. We looked at different types of living experiences. We looked at areas where we wanted waterfront mixed use, and you'll see that up on the whole Seminole Boulevard side of the project, where you have a mixed use of residential above and commercial restaurant space on the lower levels. Main Street mixed use along Palmetto, as your code calls for, John, and along First Street in the historic district. Downtown mixed use, number 3, again, that's part of Palmetto. Live-work units, you're going to see those. Item number 4, along the central spine, the central part of Palmetto, that ties Palmetto back, that ties Seminole back to First Street. Waterfront living directly, the residential apartments up above, the higher 5-story buildings, which is the highest we put onto the site, up along Seminole Boulevard. 6, the downtown living residences that face out to the east and overlook both the park and the Civic Center. And then finally, a tranquil, what we're calling tranquil living. We'll point these out as we go further along what is a pedestrian-only street. A small little mews, if you will, that has townhouses on either side of it. And then an amenity area, just our number 8 over here, that serves the entire development. That's what the pool will be, that's where some community rooms will be. And we got to this, but from there, looked at what precedents we might have. We looked for what we're calling the Sanford style. We don't want to do a development that seems like it belongs in, I don't know, Connecticut, right? We want to do a development that belongs in Sanford, that everyone knows is Sanford, that is contextual to Sanford. And to do that, we had to study Sanford. And then we had to study other precedents from around the country of things that, of the kinds of spaces that people like to be in. Narrow streets, some pedestrian-only streets, small courtyards and arcades, outdoor dining experiences. Sanford. What sort of shop fronts can we have that fit in nicely and neatly with the historic structures that are in the area? What kind of experiences can we have as community experiences that bring people back to downtown day after day, or week after week, or month after month? And we looked at these sorts of, all of these sorts of typologies, if you will. This townhouse typology on the left-hand side, you're going to see we use that in our designs as well. And the tree-lined street nature of things, and the live-work type units that you see in this middle slide over here. And then we focused on designing just these sorts of very specific areas. Excuse me. This is where we have that waterfront mixed use, gathering spaces, shops and dining, wide tree-lined sidewalks, interconnected outdoor plazas and paseos, open floor residences or office space, all along Seminole Boulevard. And this is what that perspective in our, or at least our initial concept design drawings, not final, but certainly initial, will have that area looking like. And you can see the outdoor dining spaces, the second floor dining over here, the little tower marking the entrance or the kind of center of the entire development, and letting everyone know that this is the new downtown Sanford. And then moving over to downtown mixed use, to the corner of Palmetto and First. The ground floor shops or offices and residential up above along Palmetto. Potential space in there for a market. Everyone, the charrette told us they wanted a market. They meant a Publix market. We got something a little smaller, but we're trying to find a space for a market. And that way may well be that space. We talked about the whole Main Street mixed use. We want the rest of First Street to become a hub of activity, and our project should add to that with additional outdoor dining, lively shop fronts, streetscapes that have pedestrian only at times, and interconnected courtyards and paseos that you're going to see wind their way through this plan, allowing folks to experience different kinds of spaces on the ground level and more intimate shopping experiences as well. And this is what the view would look like from First Street and at the corner of Sanford Avenue. And you can see those sort of courtyards and little paseos. And the view from the opposite side. This is Palmetto on my left. And First Street in front of you. And this is that potential corner where we talked about the possibility of a market on the ground floor to see if we can make all of that work. But generally, this is the kind of lively, open storefront that we see, and three-story building in this case, that we see within the historic district, fronting across the street from existing historic buildings, and adding a vitality to what is already a very vital First Street. And then the notion of live-work downtown residential with convertible ground floors. The notion of a convertible ground floor is the notion that you may use that ground floor to live in, or you may use that ground floor as your office, counselor, or your insurance business, or a work opportunity that is not otherwise necessarily an opportunity anywhere else in downtown. So we're leaving that flexibility.
Step in for 1 second. One of the things we were fighting with is how to get this street to be as lively as we could. We could not go beyond what we're providing in terms of commercial there. It was just too much commercial. We really couldn't put more. So this is that flexible space that hopefully if people would want to and do want to open any kind of shops, stores, they're able to do that. And that creates another commercial walkable space where you have commercial on the sides. So that gives an opportunity where we really first couldn't commit to it. It's that flexible, yes or no.
I mean, you've seen streets like this in a number of cities. Mulberry Street in Boston comes to mind. Anybody been there? Raise your hands. Good. Great street. You love to walk the street, even if you're not shopping. And if you shop, you're going to go broke quickly because you love every store. And it's that, but that opportunity to live there and work there is what we're adding to this sort of a mix. And this is another little thing we wanted to point out over here. You're seeing a bike lane running down Palmetto on both sides of the street. The street is wide enough to allow this to tie into bike paths that continue to the south, and bike paths, obviously, that continue, I think everyone already knows about, along the water's edge. This is a tremendous opportunity to tie those two together with part of that infrastructure as streetscapes. And am I going the wrong way? Okay, I already talked about this enough. Waterfront living, we know what that is. We're all going to look out at the water, and there it is. And then the downtown living. These are street-oriented residential buildings on tree-lined streets. They look a bit like townhouses. Some of them will be two-story apartments. Some will be one-story flats on top. Generally everything we're looking at right there is 3 stories. One of them might be 4, I don't remember. But be that as it may, the whole notion here is to have very human-scale residential units in those areas. And then we're going to look over towards, this is an example right here of what those units might actually look like. That is a good segue into my favorite portion of the project, I should say. This kind of tranquil living area. You heard me speak about it earlier. This quiet, pedestrian-only street that runs through the project and is flanked by townhouses on both sides. This might be the entrance to that sort of street, to that sort of a space. And you'll see more of this as we go forward. This is just a different view down lower, looking into this wonderful, little pleasant pedestrian space. And this is our amenity area, community pool, and amenity building, which is a walkable location. This is it over here on the left, a walkable location to virtually everything, all the other, it's centered in the middle of the community, and walkable by absolutely everyone. I know that Christine may have picked up on it, but we're trying here, without the clapboard at the moment, but we'll work on the clapboard, to kind of reinterpret Sanford House, a hotel that was in downtown that was demolished many, many years ago. And these are some of the apartments that face the Civic Center side that we may try to emulate that style and kind of repeat that historic context that is today gone. So the books in front of you show you some of the detail here, but just to give you a little bit of orientation as to how to read this, looking at the colors over here, everything in red is retail or restaurant space. Everything in blue, and there's not very much of it, is office space over there. This happens to be that 6,000 square feet of potential market type space, and everything else that you see is either is for the most part live work here and here, or in the let's call it yellow. I'm not sure what it is. The residential space, and you notice that this is the second floor that you're looking at right now. That retail drops away. There's only one area of commercial, there's actually restaurant space, excuse me, on Seminole at the second level. You can see that in the rendering right in front of the book. Ultimately, for the third floor. And then we begin to see that we're making the entire development at different heights. So the 5-story is continuing on the water. Now we've got the 3-story has dropped out. This is the 4th floor. And the 5th is just the upper levels of the 3 buildings that are actually on the water. This ultimately creates 235 units in a range of apartments and lofts and townhouses and live-work type spaces. We end up with 370 cars of parking, both behind the buildings and on street directly in front of our site. And as I said before, about 35,000 square feet of retail space and about 8,500 square feet of office space. So, we're going to give you one other little surprise here tonight that no one has seen before. We've created a video that actually walks you through this site as if we actually had it built. So let's see how the video looks, because it's not up on the screen, and I'm not too sure why. I'm seeing it, you're not seeing it.
Turn off your PowerPoint presentation. You have a slideshow.
I'm gonna turn off the PowerPoint presentation. I'm on the Monkey Dragon. You wanna try?
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll get there sooner or later.
Just drag.
Yeah.
So you can multitask.
It's a whole. Okay, sit back. Normally there's audio with this, but this again along Sanford, not along Seminole Boulevard, excuse me. You recognize where you are from the other renderings. Tower, a little office building, perhaps our leasing office over here on the left. A restaurant space on the right. Up on the second floor, restaurant space. Live-work units in the middle. Waterfront living on the right-hand side. Our bike paths we talked about. These are the live-work units on either side. That potential market space on the left. Making our way over to the corner of First and Palmetto. First Street Retail. First Street Retail illuminated at night. parking obviously hidden behind the buildings. Kind of alleyways, paseos that we talked about earlier. View from the corner, obviously, I think everyone knows exactly where we are now. Our amenity building on the right. You look behind the apartments, the rear.
In the lofts.
Lofts in here. Lofts in here.
The space between commercial and the parking, that skinny building is a two-story loft unit. Really
Very
It's a
interesting.
one unit, but it's 2 stories, it is a pure loft, and there's about 12 of those.
The
Six on one
the
side.
townhomes through our little pedestrian-only street, once again. 3 stories, you're parking your car underneath, secured,
And
from the
all-
back, entering from the back.
All of the housing shares the same amenity. So if it's for sale or for rent, it's all the same.
There's an HOA that would guide and
Okay.
control it.
Yeah. And there's that view from the hood, looking back again. And the entrance to that is based from the west side. So. I mean, we like to think that we've created very delightful, pedestrian-oriented, heavily contextual spaces that folks are going to enjoy for many years to come, that are going to also say things that are quintessentially Sanford.
Do any of the units have like an elevator or anything like that, or are they all like walk-ups?
No, they're not all walk-ups. I mean, certainly the 5-story over here
Right.
is elevated. For the most part, there'll be an elevator in all the 3-story buildings also. The 2 stories, probably not. The townhouses, it'll be an option.
That elevation right there. that's
This
really
is
cool.
that second floor overlooking the lake, potentially a bar or a restaurant upstairs that you get to by going up in an elevator inside the tower and then coming across on the right. Waterfront living with nice views on the right and on the left. And the dining, every chance we can get. Every spot we can get, with an outdoor patio, seating area, and then hopefully the bed. And so we thank you over call. And thank you, Vinnie and Rich.
Richard,
John, please.
I noticed a bunch of different structural styles, different size buildings. They're not all blocked together in one mass. What was the rationale behind the mix of building sizes and locations?
I think we talked about a lot. One is context, second one is flexibility. We want to make sure that we move forward, we can adapt. If there's the buildings are not pre-designed, so if the unit be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Your questions, if somebody's loving the townhouses, some of those could be not flats, but townhouses. So by having that breakup, we could adapt, because this is an untested market. And we're trying to make sure that we hit the market real right. And if we get a real hit with townhouses, we can still adapt to making more townhouses or less. So it's really a flexible plan the way we've created it.
And at the same time, it looks like a development that was built over time. This unit, it's not building type A multiplied 12 times. You know? I mean, there's just not. I mean, if there's 2 or 3 types that are the same, it's a lot here. It gives that variety that makes it feel very special and a very unique downtown property. A very new urbanism concept. Once again, that's what we like. That's the way we like it. And now we're working with a second market group. Some of you had the opportunity to meet, I think, Zimmerman Boyd, to fine tune exactly where our market is coming from and exactly what they want. Now, the first task was what's going to work. Okay, what's going to work primarily, with financial, primarily is a residential rental market. Everything else is a real tough road to hoe. Retail's a tough road. We're not getting great rents for retail. Restaurant's going to be a tough road to hoe, but we absolutely, unequivocally need it to succeed. But with the office, very, very tough road to hoe. That's why we only have 8,000 or 9,000 square feet. But in a hotel, that was a really tough road to hoe. We had to abandon that thought completely. So that's the result, and hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have the details of the Zimmerman plan to be able to tell us exactly what these folks that are coming and where they're coming from, exactly the kind of unit that they want to see. Right now, we've got good estimations and good approximations, but we'll get some more detail that should make it truly
I saw the
fine-tuned.
preview to the report starting to come in today, and it's just amazing what they find out in terms of who's in Volusia County, the median income, who's there, who's not. It is amazing how they break it up, and the names that they give to these types of individuals, whether it's millennials, they have one for the 1%ers, retirees.
They have names for
well-to-do.
people I haven't met yet. I mean,
They're really structuring these
it's just
types of
like
individuals in so many different ways, and then they tell you how many there is in this county and how many you can expect to get. It's pretty amazing stuff.
So part one is 61 pages of reading. Let's see what we got to get to it.
Speak
completely.
us to the architecture of the holding. This is just really our master plan architecture, so that the master plan. This is the architecture for the project, but it's not the final architecture. The tower may not look like that, and the townhouses may not.
There will be a tower. There will be restaurants where we're showing the restaurants. But don't think that every little bracket shown on this building is a bracket that has been finally designed yet. This is still the master plan, as well visioned as it is. But it will be the responsibility of my firm, as the architect and design architects for the entire project, to go in and physically detail out how every, along with working with Vin, who's actually great at this and a former architecture student himself, how it finally, finally looks. But will we be within this context? You bet we will. Good. So, we thank you very much. If you've got any questions,
Anybody got any questions?
answer them, and we
No, that was incredible.
Yeah,
How
great
long did that take
presentation.
to render?
we made some changes, and we had to run the computer all night long
Right.
to get the computer to re-render it with the
I just
changes we made.
did something like that on a much smaller scale, and it took a couple hours.
Yeah, it's a big chunk right there. And this is only a SketchUp model. By the time we're done, we'll have a more sensitive, more detailed walkthrough model. So, thank you very much. Our pleasure, and we'll see you again, I'm sure.
Thank you, guys.
Can I add one thing, Rich, because you didn't bring it up and I think it is important?
Yes.
Is
please.
the historic district is only in one section of the project, and that's the part facing First Street, but the entire project is being designed to comply with the historic preservation regulations, even though they're not required to. So it will schedule us as applying across the
As
entire.
Christine is saying, that particular block is in the historic district, but we think that this is so important that it tie in with all other things historic throughout here, that we're accepting the requirements of Schedule S, and we'll actually go before her board to review the final design for the entire project and its
Awesome.
compatibility with the historic district.
Awesome.
How does the Civic Center tie into your plans in the future?
Steve, we've got to spend some time as a community, and we're starting to feel more a part of this community now. My partner and I, since we spend so much time here, and will continue to. We all need to revisit the Civic Center and understand where it fits in. We don't have that answer yet. There were some discussions, peripheral discussions that came out of the charrette. But I don't think there's anything definitive at this point. It deserves its own serious study. There's other things that deserve serious study. There's at least three. The courthouse site deserves serious study. The City Hall site deserves serious study. Some would tell you that Marina Isle deserves some serious master planning sort of study. I don't know who those some are, but it's certainly, I guess it's me. It's certainly been. There's more planning and more urban design that needs to continue. But right now, let's get this going. Let's move forward with it. Let's get us under construction as fast as we all can. And I think we're going to see a tremendous catalytic effect that the site has to not only town, but all of Sanford. I think we're going to change an image here.
It's exciting.
Very
Thank you so
good.
much.
We'll visit
Thank
that
you
one
very
another
much.
day, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Good. All right, good night, everyone.
Thank you. All right, now we get to do some board action items. First thing at hand will be approval of the minutes. Hey, can I ask a favor? When you break it, can you just do like a colored sheet? Because I know when we're thumbing through here, I can't find you guys. I spend more time trying to find the page.
I don't mind putting tabs in for you, but I have to get someone to help me order supplies. Just so you're aware, I can go buy them myself and then get reimbursed.
However it has
That
to
makes
get
it
done.
quicker.
However it has to get done.
Yeah, I favor tabs personally for.
Can you cover some tabs?
Get her some tabs, so
Thank you.
Thank you.
Even
I
a
don't think you
post-it,
have-
just a little post-it.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
You'd be surprised how difficult it
Yeah,
is to
that's-
put Post-its in.
No, no.
I know, I can imagine.
This is the big thing. About this part down. You're big spenders.
Yeah, I'll get some dividers.
Give 40-pound paper. Really go over.
Okay, don't worry, next meeting you'll have dividers, tabs
Thank
and
you, thank
everything.
All right. So where are we?
You're
We are
on.
under board action items. If you go right to the end of what their presentation that was in there, where it has all the buildings and everything, you should come up into it. And we're actually at minutes.
So it's before
After their
the
presentation?
calendar.
Keep going forward. Keep going.
Actually, there's a page right in front of it that says minutes, but it's not in
Here,
front
this
of
way.
it.
Yep.
Oh, it's right in the back.
You're going to come on it right about there.
Hold it up.
There you go. And then,
Yay!
all right. You guys had the minutes. I know they were sent to you prior for you to review. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 3rd, 2016 meeting of the Sanford Community Redevelopment Agency.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next thing is Executive Director's Report. Is that part of, is 113 Palmetto part of your report?
Yes, yes it is. Very quickly, I want to distribute, there's a new number, because as you may be aware, the contractor that originally bid the project or was selected to do the work is not considered a prime contractor by the city. We checked his licensing out and spoke to him, and as a result, he is a general contractor that's going to actually be the one pulling permits, and the number has gone up just a little bit. It's still well within the amount that you approved, but if you want a copy of it, here it is. There's one for each of your binders. This number includes, yeah, it's gone up from 18,300 to 20,130. This proposal is still well within the 40,000. The insurance is almost resolved. We've got one more coverage, one certificate that we're waiting for, and then we can go ahead and issue the purchase order to get them started. The work should take about 4 weeks.
And I think I read in there also where they're doing some window restoration at no charge.
That's right. They're donating the restoration of those windows.
This is not an action item. This is more information, right? Because we've already
It's
approved
right.
this.
It's just information in my update to you.
I'm looking forward to getting that done, actually.
So we did meet on site. I know you probably reviewed the little memo that I put in there. And we have an idea where they're gonna, put their vehicles and the trash containers and that sort of thing, and cordoning off for safety and that sort of thing. So all of that's been discussed, and so now when the purchase order gets issued 4 weeks later, the work will be done, and we'll bring you pictures of the work itself as it's ongoing and at completion.
Are we gonna move the banner that's in front of it to another building, like we're gonna go across the street with it?
I wasn't planning to
I'm
do.
teasing you. All right, treasurer's report. Ms. Cynthia.
The treasurer's report, I have no changes to it. So I'll just leave it up to you for any questions.
Yeah, we're pretty much at the end of our reflections and everything, aren't we? Somebody got anything for me? Usually this time of the year, there's not a whole lot to discuss on it. Hopefully, we spent the money.
Nope.
Very good.
I do have a request for the police department items that you just approved, if you could do a budget amendment for 2017 for me, that I can put in the final budget for the commission at the end of September.
Okay. Can we, I guess we haven't officially had carryover yet, right?
You can go ahead and declare it.
You can declare it?
The 80,000, that's part of the budget.
So what kind of motion are you looking for? Are you looking for a motion declaring the carryover to go towards that? Where would
And the
we,
rest of it.
where would this be under?
It would be under salaries.
Under salaries?
Well, it's split, the salaries and, you don't actually have a line item currently for equipment, but it would be under salaries equipment. But if you could just tell me where it's coming from,
Okay.
I can,
Well, it'd be the carryover, and then obviously it would come out of the monies that we carried over earlier, out of Oak to Myrtle. So we would be looking at, we don't know exactly what the carryover is yet. The way it's going, we're looking at almost $105,000 carryover, if, as long as Palmetto doesn't go any higher.
So your motion could be the carry forward or the carry over, and then the balance from the Oak to Myrtle.
Is that acceptable, Jennifer? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I wouldn't know where to begin.
What's the dollar amount?
171,000.
No, I mean the carryover from Oak to Myrtle.
Well, we're not going to use the carryover. We'll know what it is. We're going to make it up from the balance of all the money we put into Oak to Myrtle. So the motion would probably go along the lines of,
What the
I make a
amount
motion to,
Yeah, the carryover is actually.
to use the carryover and the balance to come out of the Oak to Myrtle project to fund, to do a budget amendment for the police officers of $171,529, I think was the number. But I'm not making that motion. I'm just suggesting.
Okay, I make a motion to use the carryover money to fund the Sanford Police, the $171,574
And then the balance
in the balance.
to come out of the Oak to Myrtle.
Oh, I'm sorry, in the balance to come out of the Oak to Myrtle line item.
All right, have a motion? Have a
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we got City of Sanford, discussion items, SCR funding and maintenance. Mr. Holtby? Yes. It is you, sir. Do you have a brief history you want to give on this, Sonia?
Oh, yes, of course. One of the things that we wanted to discuss with you was a list of items, obviously because of the police department's request and because of some discussions about reducing various dollars in order to fund that. We wanted to revisit some of the things that you had previously discussed about funding for Parks and Recreation, I think is the name of it.
Yes.
department, so there is a list in your packet. The downtown area landscape annuals at $35,000, the Riverwalk area landscape annuals at $50,000, pressure washing the downtown streetscape and Riverwalk concrete areas, $20,000, Riverwalk benches for $97,500, and I think there was a maintenance worker discussed at $40,000. There was also some email traffic about questions about signs that maybe had come up through discussions previously, and a bench for the shuttle. So those are the kinds of things I think that we need to just revisit based on what's happened with the police officer budgets.
Now, a few of those are going to be fixed. The landscaping, the annuals, those are items that are already in our fix. I believe we're in contract for those, and that's just understood that we're not doing that, not changing those. The discussion items would have been what happened, and I believe you missed this meeting, was when you came down when we were downstairs, and you kind of gave us a wish list, and we kind of discussed about it and looked into it.
You want me to review that?
Yes, sir. That'd be nice.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the opportunity. At the last meeting that I attended, I believe it was the June meeting, if I'm not mistaken, we discussed replacement of park benches and the swing benches along the Riverwalk. A total replacement for the entire length would have been about $97,500. Given the sticker shock of that, the board discussed maybe doing it in 2-year increments, and discussed $48,750 for the first year. Then there was also discussion of pressure washing, which we have done once in the past, probably around 2008, 2009, in that area. Of all the hardscape, now we have additional hardscape that more than we had. That would be all the concrete areas on 1st Street, 2nd Street, Park Avenue, from the roundabout to 3rd Street, Magnolia Square to 3rd Street, Palmetto from 1st to 3rd, Sanford from 1st to 6th, and everything encompassing Phase 1 of the Riverwalk, including the City Hall area. So that cost at the time was estimated at $20,000, and I think there was a, because of the increase in the amount of area to maintain, there was a range of $20,000 to $50,000 that was discussed. And those were then I proposed using not to exceed $18,000 to replant along the downtown area and along the Riverwalk, which that process has begun. So that, to my knowledge, is what was discussed.
Let's read that on.
I think one of the email questions I received from one of the board members was, what's the status of the pressure washing? And the status is that this is in next fiscal year's budget. So now really the question becomes, are you responsible for getting these things done, or is the CRA supposed to help you with that? What is the mechanics of getting these things done?
Well, in the past, the last time we had it done, it was done through the Parks and Grounds Division. This is about half again is more area to cover than we did last time. We can, we have a bid process that we have to go through to put
We do as
together
well.
specs and put it out. I think would it be your whatever your pleasure is as far as how you want to handle that.
I don't think we want to get into the pressure washing business in the sense that we're overseeing the project and one of us is, or Sonia is doing that. I don't remember the last time, so I don't think it was before my time, but did the CRA just reimburse Parks and Recs for pressure washing?
I don't believe
Or
so. I
did
think
you
it
guys
just
just-
came out of our budget.
It just came, well, that works.
Well,
Thank you.
know-
It's problem
you know-
solved.
you know what our budget looks like now, so.
I know, I'm just messing with you. I couldn't resist that one. There are, obviously, one of the reasons I was one of the ones that sent the email to Sonia is that, obviously with the police officers and with a catalyst site coming and with a lot of the unknown, we never officially voted it in, so we never committed to this.
Right, understand.
And it seems to be a lot of things are changing right now that we're still early on of what's changing. We don't know what's going to be asked of the CRA from the catalyst site, what's going to be part of any of it. And I'm not saying that this doesn't need to be done, but to commit to it now, and that was my thing, was have you spent the money, was the whole reason behind it. And it's not to say that the CRA doesn't want to do it or shouldn't do it, is do we have the money to do it?
Right.
And then there's going to be some prioritizing of what we are to do. So that was the whole premise of it. I didn't know we were going to do a presentation on it, but realistically is don't spend the money yet, I guess, basically what's going on. I don't know any other way to say it. All right, well, let me just go ahead and clarify.
Let me just
Don't order
let
the
you know
don't order the
that,
benches.
No, we're not,
But the
we haven't
benches-
ordered anything. We've gotten quotes
The
and
benches
we
we
know
approved.
exactly
Gone.
what,
Aren't they, some of them?
do what.
We
The
didn't
benches,
approve them.
some of them are gone. And some of them are
We
taped
never
off.
made an official motion. We
Well,
discussed it.
we
gave
took
us
down the
his wish
ones
list.
that need repair.
I thought the benches we
The swing
approved.
benches.
I
No,
thought
we
we
checked
did
those
too. I
minutes
thought we
because
approved that
we
we were gonna
approved
pay
up
for
to-
half.
97,000.
And they were
Well,
going
we're
to be
gonna pay.
aluminum
Yeah, no.
coated.
Yes. Well, they're gonna be all aluminum, not have wood slats in them.
Right.
When he gave us, because I asked this question, and that's when they gave us a presentation on it. We were doing our budget. We put money in the budget, but we never technically went out and said that we were going to do it. So we would, at worst case scenario, we would have to officially make a motion and then actually do it because we are expending money. We never did that process. That's not to say we're using that to get out of doing it. I mean, because we had agreed on it, we may have had to come back to revisit it anyway.
Well, if
Are
we're going to
these items
revisit it, then
budgeted?
let's,
Okay.
what would it cost to make the repairs on the wood slats? Would that be something that's just, wouldn't that be less expensive than dismantling and purchasing and then installing?
It's labor intensive. They all would have to be repainted. A lot of the wood is rotten. They're held together with screws from
Right.
the underside. All that wood is wallered out. We've painted, repainted, patched. It's just not a good product.
Well, the
for us.
manufacturer of those benches must also be able to supply new slats.
We have purchased new slats to repair the swing benches, which we intend to do. But, given the,
Oh, we're not talking about the swing benches, we're talking about
The benches.
the regular benches.
but given the project, I went ahead and priced everything in the $97,500, including the 8 swing benches, which have to be, we buy the benches with the legs cut off, and there's a company in Tavares that fabricates them, and puts the swing rails on them. So that's something that could be pushed back later on as well. I guess the question is for you all, do you want to push that project back another year till you see what you have? We could try to, like I said, we have enough, we've ordered enough slats to repair the damaged swing benches. It just depends on how much vandalism we get, because they rack those things back and forth. We're thinking about attaching chains to the bottom of them and drilling them into the concrete so they only can go so far.
Not a bad idea.
Then you'll rip the concrete. I don't have to pay to fix that.
Well, anyway, long story short, we can make some
Band-Aid patches on the swing benches. The other benches we can repaint again, but what you see is what you get out there right now. And that will be labor intensive for us as well. And time and labor is something that we just don't have a lot of right now. Now in the wintertime it might be a good project, but I was going to give you a list of things that I wanted to work on this winter.
Let me ask a question too, because you have on here the lead maintenance worker. I know there was some discussion, and I don't know if it's changed at all, but there was some discussion early on that that worker would go into the city as an employee, and then we would look at going ahead and outsourcing those services. Did that ever materialize, or did that go away?
That's something, if they want to fund it, if they want to contract that work out and not pay the city for that, we would perform that work for them.
Well, would that be,
That
can I
would free
get a
up.
subcontract?
That would free up probably almost $50,000 if I had to guess. Without knowing. if
About
we
42
include-
and change.
That's just for his base, or is that for his
And
including
bins.
his and bins? Okay. So that's 42 and change. All right. I guess there's a lot of unknowns. I don't want to say let's push it off a year, but I also don't know that we're in a position right now to say go ahead and move forward with it. I really think 60 days is more appropriate to see what all is going to be asked of the CRA.
I understand I'm not in a position to barter, but if we could get
Barter.
the money for the annuals and the landscape replacements and the position, and if you want to push back the pressure washing and the benches for another,
The annuals and all that were
time
never
certain.
on the cutting block.
Okay, all right.
Those are not on the cutting block at all. That's what I was, real quick, that's budgeted. That's something that is a carryover. I think we're almost required to do it.
Yeah, we've been doing just as long as the annuals and the landscape replacement, we've been doing the lead maintenance worker as well.
Yeah.
So I would push strongly for those.
The annuals and all that, that is not changing. Truly, the only thing we're talking about is the 48,000 for benching and and then also on the pressure washing and all that. And that's that was the extras that we had discussed. The extra employee, are you talking, when you say the lead, this is the guy we're already funding, correct?
Yeah, well, and you already fund this position. It's not an extra position.
Yeah, so we're already funding that.
Right.
Realistically, I think the only way we would get out of funding that would be is if we had an ulterior way of getting things done, and that would be contracting it out. At this point, with the budget year starting in 30 days, I don't know that we have enough time, nor have we paid enough attention to even go down that road. That the board would like to try and fast track that, we could look into it, but I don't think you could go out and get an idea of everything that he's doing that we would need to cover. I don't think he's pressure washing is.
And we
That
helped him.
doesn't have to be
He-
done, I mean, that could be done at any point during the fiscal year. That may be a discussion we want to have. We talked about any new CRA projects, contracting that work out. So the question is, do you want to contract out the First Street?
And when that person was brought on and funded through CRA, there was certainly a lot less responsibilities at the time, and that has mushroomed. And we add staff to assist him at the present time. So, what you think you might get by saving $42,000, we're still going to have to.
Not looking to save, looking to redirect.
Understand.
So I don't know if you would be the one to do it, so I'll just throw it out there, is what would be the proper channel to follow to figure out what's the best way to spend the money? Is it to hire the employee and keep him on the books? Or is it to contract it out? And what works for you guys? I mean, would you like to give up pressure washing and sweeping of the streets? Is that what we contract out? Or is he already handling that and it's a better use to use it? So
We need to talk about that internally.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
we need to discuss.
so that's something you guys need to work out and bring to us, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
For the meantime, we'll continue on.
We'll continue, yeah, we're not changing anything. Just don't order the benches.
So, no, we're not gonna order.
Or the pressure washer.
Okay, all right. You know, that's something that, would be nice if we could do it, but, we'll get by.
Just so
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understand what, I want to make sure that I'm clear. The landscape annuals, the 35,000 and the 50,000 have already been approved, and they're going to be handled by your staff. Okay, they don't need to bring a request to
No.
you for that. Okay.
Those
so
are those are already carried over every year, correct, Cynthia?
Okay.
They do have to get approval of the purchase order.
Right.
Okay. So, but that's an operating expense in as much as it doesn't have to come before you for a grant approval. Okay. Then the pressure washing and the benches we just discussed, and that's what's going to be,
Internally, they're going
Discussed
to, and I
and-
imagine you will be part of that discussion.
Okay.
So that you're there. Internally, they will come and say, we think this is
Right.
the best route to follow.
okay.
And then
And
we will
in
follow
the
that route.
event they do want the CRA to fund those, that is a grant request. It's not just a,
When you're saying grant request, educate me a little bit, because I know you are trying to make it that when the city is coming up, we want to have a little bit of more of a channel,
Process.
a process. Is this part of what you're talking about?
that is, because what's happening is to separate the two entities, really one needs to ask for the funding in order to show the reasons why you agreed to give it. So it can be as simple as an email, but a request should,
Paper trail.
right, should come
Fair enough.
forward. So to me, I think that those two, whether it's one bench or 20 benches or however many benches, and the pressure washing should come in an email from you saying, we would like to get this funding, we now have our proposals in place and that sort of thing. That way you can reimburse them or you can direct pay. You can do one or the other.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the last one, the worker is already on the payroll.
We're already paying
So
that.
that's already a budget item and it has nothing to do with their request. You proved that a long time ago.
It's been ongoing for 10 plus years, and quite honestly, they're only going to internally discuss if that's the best route to go, or if contracting is out, and they're going to come back and tell us and
If there's
say,
a change of some sort.
change this, and then that way the board will decide at that point.
Now, there was an email from a commissioner, I can't remember which one, asking about a bench for the shuttle. I don't remember which one of you
I
sent
think
it.
it was
It was
Okay.
me.
Mr. Chesney.
Okay. Do we need a bench for the shuttle, and where?
Yes, I think we need to look, we did discuss that, and actually, we discussed that at the last meeting that the shuttle people were here, is that people are not having, they're having to stand, and if there's weather, we had kind of kicked around the idea, if you guys remember, it was kind of doing what Lynx does, and instead of being a Lynx, would be the exact same look. And I think, Mark, we were having a discussion when you were here, we were going to, no?
Somebody was gonna check
Somebody
into
was going to
pricing.
check into
Right.
pricing.
Oh.
I don't remember who it was.
I think it was Bob, and if I,
Turk?
yeah, I think it might have been Bob.
No, I think
No,
it was
no,
the
no.
gentleman
One of
who
the
helped
city,
us with the street scape.
Robert Beal.
Robert
Yeah.
Beal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robert Beal. He was going to look into that.
Well, there is the same company I'm talking about that fabricates. They fabricate all of those bus stops for Lynx.
Then if you
It
could
varies.
reach out to them and just ask them what a Lynx
What it
bus,
cost would
what
be
it
or
is, and
something.
maybe send that to Sonia so she can forward it to us.
We
Because we do need to look at something. We are funding the bus, and then we do need them to get out of the rain and all that.
Okay, what location would you want it
It would
at?
have to be over near the Welcome Center, and
Okay.
I think we were looking right in front of where the bus pulls, or the van pulls in, which would be on.
That would be
on
facing Palmetto, right?
It'd be facing Palmetto.
Okay,
Is
so
that
I'll
something we
follow
could
up
put
with you.
an ad in or charge for advertising in it
Uh,
to kind of make up for the cost?
Before we can
Well,
go
that's-
do it, we need to get with the city and make sure
Right.
we do it all. We're just
Right,
not
'cause
doing it. We're
I don't
getting
know.
we're gathering our
We
information.
may
Was
not
that
be
within
able to
the
put a
S-
bench
That
there.
one might be a right-of-way
Or-
utilization
Right,
agreement.
that's right.
Or-
Yeah,
And that's-
DOT governs those, the position of those and how they go. And
But I believe that that's in the city's right of way, and then we'll have to get
Probably.
that question answered.
Well, we'll
That's
bring back the information about the right-of-way, the price of the stop, and then the other thing too that was asked about was signage. Signage of advertising the CRA at various locations. That was what the email said, but I don't remember who sent it to me.
We already had a sticker done up, and Maria was very big on the sticker, and she'd run around and stick them on people's windows. When Maria left the board, nobody has seemed to pick up the sticker
Okay,
putting out. I think it would be nice somehow for CRA projects that are completed to have some kind of designation, slash city, Sanford CRA kind of a thing. But, it's gonna have to be something that's followed up on. And I don't know that you could go back and stick stickers on people that have already done it without telling them. I don't know.
No, I
It's
think
nice
that
to
they
let
would
them
be
know what the CRA
willing.
is doing.
Yeah, we can put that, if that's something that we want, we can put it in the grant agreement up front. But, the question is, did you already approve something, or do I
We have
need to
not.
get something? Okay.
We had some stickers made up. I think Mr. Bob Turk will probably have them. And basically what we were asking them to do was stick the stickers on the front by their door so that it was, said the CRA. Maybe we can just have them do a 20 by 20 project funded by CRA. Have all
Okay.
of our pictures on it.
All right, so that'll be fine. I'll work on,
I'm teasing you now.
yeah, no, that's fine. You think I'm kidding.
20
I'm
foot
gonna
by
put
20
your
foot?
face on
We're kidding
it.
about putting our
We want
pictures on.
30% of their front window space. in the
Davis
CRA.
dollars. No.
Davis bucks. But I think we need to, it'd be nice just to get it out there. It is a big thing. Maria was very big on that, and we all agreed with it, but she really ran with it. And when
Okay.
she left the board, nobody seemed to pick up that slack.
Okay, so I'll follow up with him on the bus stop. I'll check with Bob on the stickers. I'm clear on the rest of this per our discussion, so thank you very much for that.
Recommendation, when we have something like this that's coming back after several months, be beneficial to have the notes from the prior meetings of what was discussed back in with this, so we didn't have to rely on our memory.
You're absolutely right. However, I don't know what meeting this came from. I would certainly agree with you. In the future, I will try to do that. I just don't know where it came from.
I thought we had approved the benches, but I guess.
That's
we
what I
didn't.
thought too,
We added it on the budget, but we never made an
but we never
official
made a motion to do it.
Well, here again, if you
Yeah.
have the prior information to look back at and review, you wouldn't have to figure out what you did and you didn't do.
Kind of like minutes, just the minutes from that meeting.
Yeah, but it's been 6 months.
They're not in the minutes, I can assure you.
It's been 6
If it
months.
was
We
a
are-
discussion
No, it was
item, it's
June.
not in the minutes.
June?
Yeah,
Well, it'll be in the tape, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, someone would have to sit down and go through all the tapes to see when it was discussed. I mean, we can certainly take the time to do that. But at this point, the only thing we were relying on your memory simply because
don't have
we
to
just
do
want to
that.
verify that these are things that you want to remain in the budget. That's all.
I think they're all
The approval
important things.
process, the reason why it's so difficult to remember things is because up until now, you've not really had a grant request process for city-funded projects, which should have been in place. I mean, it's called government aid for a reason. What happens is the city would come with a grant request to say, we need this money for annuals. Then it's an action item, it's in the official minutes, and it's in all the paperwork. Right now, it was just a budget discussion. At some point in the past, we'd have to sit down and listen to all the,
And to your
the
point,
audio.
Paul, is we're getting in that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, really and truthfully, you can't harp on what's happened in the past, but there's minutes are getting done. I know she's got some projects with the clerk that are getting things taken care of. So I think moving forward, exactly what you're asking for will be able to be done. But moving from back, I don't know that it's as easy done as it is as you would think it would be at this point.
I don't think you're gonna ever have verbatim minutes though.
I'm sorry?
Verbatim minutes are not something you'll ever have, I don't think.
No, but you can always fall back on the tape for that. If you have the minutes,
Well-
you can always pull the tape and listen to the whole discussion.
Or we would know if we voted on something, it would be,
Well, if you
It
voted on
had-
it,
it
it
would
voted
have
on
to be
minutes.
listed on the agenda as either a discussion item or an action item for me to even know what recording to listen to. So,
This item was on the agenda in the past.
It was on there for as a discussion. It was not on there as a request. And then one of the things that we are changing up internally is that anything that is an action item needs to make sure that we're noticing it to allow the public time to come and talk about it. And if you list something as a discussion that is not something you're voting on, you need to follow back up on it so that we're transparent for the most part. And that's really what it's all about. So where we did discuss it, where I do think that we all agreed that this is something we wanted to do, we never officially did it. We think we did it, but we never officially did it. We didn't notice it so that it was a request. We did not have a request, and we never officially made a motion to do it. We just added it on the budget that we were doing at that point. Remember, if you guys remember, there in that meeting, we were downstairs, we were in the chambers, and we were putting our budget together so that it could be sent over for the timeline of doing, for what the commission had to approve. So we're just, what Sonia is doing now is she is just really helping us streamline it to where we're doing it the proper way, and nothing comes back and bites us later on. And then it might mean there might be a few things that we're having to readdress so that we do it the proper way. And at that time, we will try and, as efficiently as possible without going too crazy in it, try and research back to get the information you're asking on so that you're presented. I don't think there's a lot of this coming down the pipeline, and I think most of it is going to be starting from moving forward for next fiscal year is where we'll be looking at it. So
Hopefully
point well
what'll
taken.
happen is I'll know that you need a budget amendment, because I'm walking into a budget wasn't something that was prepared when I was here. And I have no idea what you've previously approved and what you haven't without going through every one of your minutes, which I've done for the most part for the year, for the last 2 years. But hopefully before we come in here to get anything approved, I will know if you need a budget amendment, because that should be part of your motion. And we should be very aware of what's happening with your budget on a regular basis. So now that I know these are budget items and what portion has to come through as a grant request, then now in the future, I will know that we had it here and we discussed it, because it'll be itemized in the minutes. But I don't know what meeting in the past it was discussed, or I assume it was these budget discussions happened before I came
it was when
aboard.
you missed the meeting. It was June meeting. I think it was June.
Yeah,
Maybe
Mark
May,
said
but I
June.
believe it was
Yeah.
June.
It was the June meeting.
Yeah,
It was a
and
June
the
meeting.
agreement between the city and the county was actually signed in July. My first day here was after the 4th of July.
And you were going to be at that meeting, but then you were told you couldn't come to that
Right,
meeting.
right.
There was just a lot of things
Right,
going on.
that's it. But
So we're
basically, it's
just
back in.
doing catch up, guys.
Yeah,
And really,
so I apologize if the information hasn't been as clear, but hopefully going forward, it's gonna get better. And the other thing I wanted to tell you too is that, much of the budget, I'm still a little bit confused about how the budget is structured and what dollars are allocated to what things still need to come through as a grant request versus just being able to get paid. I'm still trying to work my way through that, but I'll get with Cynthia and make sure I'm clear on it, because by the time we start your new programs, it'll be clean.
okay. And I can come sit with you as well. Yeah, I can come
Yeah.
sit with you and go over stuff
Yeah.
as well. The whole board can't, but I can, or individually they can.
Yeah, that'll
All
work.
right. Okay. Thank you. And then takeaway is you'll figure out internally what's the best route to go, and just kind of give us a little bit of an update, and we'll just make a decision from that.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark.
all right, thank you.
All right. Last thing, work session follow-up, the new drafts. I know our attorney was sending stuff out as I was heading here and trying to read it on my phone while driving. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do that, but
I've
you
got
have to
the
pass
edited
out.
versions here.
Okay.
We can
And there's
take.
there's more to come.
Yeah.
And you have to look at them all right now, obviously. It's not substantive, it's a lot of wordsmithing and just.
And
making-
duplication of words, which I felt like I needed to hammer in the idea that this was not guaranteed money. And so I said it 20 times, and you're like, yeah, once is enough. So maybe what would work is she'll get through the last of the programs to finish with the edits. I'll take all of those and finalize the draft, put our branding information on it, and give it to you for one last time. I won't be able to bring it to the next meeting. I'll need you guys to give me your feedback before, so I can post it and open up your programs. Because right now, everything's closed, waiting on you to approve the criteria.
Can we do that via email on something like that we've already done the wording in it, or how would we do that, Jen?
I would prefer not. I would prefer you to approve it.
When do you want to open up the programs?
But I'll have that, I'm sorry, I was out.
No, that's okay.
So I'm trying to get them done quickly, and I'll have the others to you shortly.
We want to open no later than October 1. So,
Well, let me ask this question then. We've already,
Thank you.
is that
No,
a
it's my
check?
phone. No, it's my phone.
you know, in class, we would,
gonna
you got a
say.
phone?
Only took 4 months, 5
No,
months?
no, it wasn't working, so I had to get it fixed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, be glad you got one. I have to sneak through his office to get in here. Question for you, what I was leading into. We've already approved the language of it.
Yeah, but I'd like for you to approve the edits. I would like
Okay.
for everybody to
Because
approve it.
really what we did was is we approved everything in there and then we wanted you to put the legal spin on it to
Right,
make it
and I
proper.
would like for you to, all the edits that I make,
Yeah.
I would like for you
You
all.
email them, we can just vote
Well,
on it.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they can be emailed, I can email them out to all of you when I'm done.
And we can approve it
It's
via
just that I've been
email.
out for over a month with medical
Yep.
leave and unfortunately lost a family member last week, so I wasn't.
So sorry.
Yeah, it's just,
Sorry.
so, my apologies that I haven't been able to get to it,
Oh, no.
but I'm trying.
So you can email them, we can read them, we
Yeah,
can,
just don't respond respond individually, not reply all.
Reply all.
okay.
And.
That's what I was leading
That's
into.
good. That's a good point to make.
If you guys notice, sometimes you'll reply all and then I'll delete you. And then I'll talk back to Sonia saying,
Right.
People are replying all. Because really, for Sunshine,
Yes.
you can't reply all. Even if they can talk to all of us at one time, you need
Right.
to reply individual. So you'll just reply to the person talking. And
As far as the approval.
the second thing to go on that is that make sure that if you hit just reply, if Jennifer sent it, then you want to go ahead and CC Sonia on it as well. Because you only get one person. See, the two people that you can talk back to are those two right there. You can't talk to any of us as one-on-one on that. So that's just as a house cleaning item there.
It's good.
Now,
Good
when
to know.
all of these go out, and this is a question for you, could we have, or does this have to be publicly noticed as well for them to approve the draft?
I think it should be public and,
Okay.
yeah,
So-
everything you're gonna discuss as a board should be noticed.
Okay, so then should we do another meeting towards the end of September so that these can be posted by October 1? Or do we go ahead and have the meeting in October and the deadline for the first set of applications is October 15th?
That's what I was leading into asking is that we've already approved the substance of it as a board. Right now, you're doing your legal part of it, so if it came to us as an email and we all agreed that it stayed pretty much what we have approved and she's just made it legally correct, if we've already approved it, is that enough for you to post it? And then if we had to
I
motion
think
it?
so. I mean, it's up to you. I'm okay with it either way. I would prefer it one way, but you can decide to go the
We're
other
up
way.
against
I
the
don't
gun
think
on
it'll
it,
be
and-
illegal.
I don't want to call a special meeting for that.
No, I wouldn't think you would want to call a special
And we've
meeting.
approved the substance of it, we just wanted you
Yeah.
to put your legal.
I'm not changing much substance, really at all. It's just some clarity and a little bit of law in there. Just in the two that I've gotten to so far. I guess there's 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
But they're very similar, so it's like once you do,
Okay.
it's going to be quick
Okay.
because they're similar.
Right.
Okay.
So,
So
So
via
hopefully
email,
in the next few days, well, I can't promise that because a lot of hearings right now, but I'll get them to you as quickly as possible.
so basically, when she sends it to you, guys read it over, reply back to her and Sonia.
It's not much
And
really,
then
and it's all track
say you approve
changes,
of
and
it.
you all know how to see the changes on the track changes when I send it out to you or not. Are you
let
good
me
with
give
that?
them these copies at least so
Do
they
you
can
redline
see
them
these.
on your tracking changes?
Yeah.
These are
Well, I mean,
redlined.
I do track changes, and then depending on how you look at it in a Word, you have to show all markup. If you do simple markup, you won't necessarily see. And if anybody has problems, either call Sonia or call me, and I can talk you through it.
You can do a print preview and see it all too. If you do a print preview,
Okay.
I see them all when I do a print preview.
Okay.
But I printed these for you so I can at least get you the two that she's already edited. If we could just pass these out, that way you guys don't have to worry about printing them out
It's
yourself.
really not that much.
And then as the other ones come in, I'll make sure that, you're all receiving them, and just let me know if there are any additional edits you want to these two as soon as you can.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I have to, do anything, I know you sat through the whole meeting, and so it's great when we have a guest. Are you just here observing, or?
I am. Hi. I just wanted to say hello. Should I introduce
Yes,
myself? I guess so. My name is Jackie Garcia Bowman. I'm a resident, homeowner in Sanford, and I'm also co-owner of Rabbit Foot Record Store Cafe on 2nd.
Okay, very
So this is the first meeting I was aware of, so I wanted to come and sit in and probably participate more, not to get in anyone's way, obviously, but as someone who's vested and invested in downtown and the development. I thought it would be really
Oh,
good.
very nice.
So thank you for asking, because I was really
We
wanting
don't
to
get a
say
lot of
hello.
guests, so when we get guests,
I
we
know,
really
you're
to.
like going, who's
Did you
over
want to
there?
put stickers out?
Pardon? I would love a sticker, yeah, with all your faces on it.
I love the coffee at your place.
Thank you, because, and I love the opportunity to get a
Do we have a sign-in
facade
sheet for visitors?
grant, so we'll be applying for that.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
start doing
Thank
sign-in
you.
sheets.
Sam.
Bill, you're
That's
coming out
the
here
facade.
shortly and you can apply.
That's excellent, thank you.
How are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Donna Bundy. I'm the Executive Director of the Seminole Cultural Arts Council. So, of course, working downtown, we're very interested in the whole process.
Welcome.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, we're gonna start having a sign-in sheet too.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
good idea.
We're gonna be moving our meeting.
That's
the
what I
next
was just
meeting.
gonna ask. I thought we were.
We got
meeting-
kicked out for the, we got kicked out of there.
We
for
tried. We fought
we're
long
there.
and
We're
hard.
almost there.
So
We
the
will
last 2 meetings we were
We've been
supposed
kicked
to-
out,
right.
yeah, and we're gonna discuss that today. Realistically, to Jennifer's point, and her and I were talking about it, is, you know, we need to have the meeting down there. We're having too many people that you have to do your back and you can't address them. She's been looking at the back of my head all day and maybe not hearing what I'm saying, and we just need to be down there,
It's
so.
just a better forum
It's a
for
better
a
forum.
public board, and
Mhm.
it's easier access down there. I couldn't even get in today. He sneaks in the back. And we had the mayor, the deputy city manager, department heads. I think it's more appropriate setting to have it
And
in
I did do
chambers.
the IT request for the door to be unlocked, and they even confirmed that they got it and they were gonna unlock the door. So I apologize if it was still, it was still locked.
It's not your
Which
fault. What
door?
happens is the one over here.
Oh.
I was escorted in.
You were
What
like,
happens
in
is
IT.
they set it for 4 o'clock, and when meeting starts at 4, so they set it
I
at 4.
set it for 3.
I know, it's,
The
we
other thing
battled it,
is
it
make
shouldn't be that way, you should be able to come up here. I think downstairs is a little more of a comfortable setting, this is more of a meeting kind of setting.
if we weren't so packed all the time, but I mean, we do have so many people coming to this meeting. It's a
Mhm.
well-attended meeting, and the other thing is to make sure that people, even staff, are making sure they state their names for the record.
And it's hard to do when they're
Yeah.
standing over here, it's just,
I
it's
know.
just a very
I know.
difficult situation.
But I'll weigh that out.
Plus, the recordings will be a lot better because we will all
That's
be
right.
talking into the sound system. People will be able to hear us better, it'll just be a better format. And quite honestly, we should have probably been meeting down there
What?
all along.
I don't
P
know
and Z
if
meets
any
down
other-
there,
right.
everybody meets down there.
Yes.
And it's a public meeting that we follow sunshine, so, all right. All righty, Brian, you got anything?
No, that was it. I was gonna bring up the meeting place.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Mr.
I'm
Yep,
good, I think we discussed everything.
Paul?
Good.
I forgot to ask 2 things with the police department, so can you follow up on these 2 things? They're pretty minor. Can they come back 3 months from when it starts and just give us a review?
Actually, they
And-
should give us quarterly reports, I would think.
Of calls?
No, I'm just a review so we can make sure that we're on the same page with the hours the
Verify
officers are
the hours.
working. Are there any issues that we're seeing or hearing? And just,
Okay.
so we can have
I
a,
think what they're asking is just asking that once they have the officers in place is to send us a schedule so we know who's there when. Nice thing about it is pretty much everybody at this table is downtown on a regular basis and can take a look.
and then can they come back to our meetings quarterly and just give us a report on what the officers are seeing, doing, making sure that their schedule is right and that it's fitting the hours? That's just simple. And then I didn't know, with the officers that we're getting, are they going to have access to bikes and the golf cart to be able to patrol for visibility?
That would be nice.
They probably will.
I would imagine that they would.
So if they could
Horse,
just,
they're gonna have a horse.
Some horses.
horse,
Remember the horse?
No, then we're gonna have to hire someone to clean up after the
We already got
horse.
that
We
covered.
do
Yeah,
that
we got
in
a guy.
We got
Osceola
it.
County, you know.
They had a horse patrol here.
Charles
Yeah,
volunteered.
years ago.
so if they could just,
We'll put the little bag.
if you could just, Sonia, if you could just let us
Yes.
know at the next meeting, that'd be great.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
All right. I guess I don't really have anything to add. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
good night, everyone.
And thank
Good
you
night.
for coming.
Sonia, I
Thank you
just
for
would
coming.
like for you to know, I think you're doing
It's
a
nice to have a
wonderful
crowd every
job.
once in a while that's not.
No, I
they're
appreciate
organized.
that, thank
I
you.
think